The CFL, 3 games last weekend. Actually, this weekend. 3 games this weekend. 3 buys, 2 upsets, 1 tie. Really interesting stuff, unless you're betting or you're playing CFL Pick'em. We'll talk about it next on the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. Welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. My name's Oz Davis. I'm the co-host of the show. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Joe Pritchard. And Joe, I got to say, you're having about as good a 2-week run as any team in the CFL is right now.
I would say even 3, because if you go back to Labor Day is usually it'd be great if we got it, but I'm not going to count on it. So,
Right.
given that, I think if you're a Bomber fan, you go, I'll take this. Let's keep going.
Right. And you had the best of all possible bye weeks when the football gods were in an upset-minded mood. So you've already put more distance between yourself and BC Lions without even having to suit up this weekend. So
Yep.
nice run for Bomber fandom right now. The Bombers, I think, were one of the teams that won the bye week. I'm not sure that Saskatchewan did, but
Well, they did.
Winnipeg
They
certainly
didn't lose for once, so they did.
Oh, you're a bad man. Yeah, but that Calgary tie just makes things it makes things even hairier for Saskatchewan going forward now. All right, we're going to talk about that tie a bit later on, but let's just get into the slate of games here. Joe, I'm baffled. Toronto Argonauts 33, BC Lions 17. Now, I had this strange sort of disconnect with this because here I am on Central European time, so I'm usually waking up in the morning and checking these games. Well, somehow I had spaced that this game even happened. So I'm looking at my fantasy team, and I wanted to see if I wanted to second guess myself at the last second any. And already I see that there's a score in. Well, unfortunately, over at the fantasy game, they listed both my BC players and my Toronto players as having lost 17-33, quote unquote. And so then I'm like, okay, well, who won this game? Assuming it was the Lions. So I go to the box score. Then I see the score. Then I see that the Lions had played 3 quarterbacks in this game. So I went back and watched the whole thing. Thanks to the international access provided by the CFL this year. And so, wow. I still got to say, Joe, I watched the whole thing, but what in the name of the football gods is going on with the BC Lions?
I think I've been on the BC Lions all year about, hey, here's your opportunity, go take it. But the thing about the BC Lions over the past three years, I mean, if you want to call it the Nathan Rourke / Vernon Adams era, is they've been consistently inconsistent. Either they are hammering the crap out of really, really good teams and bad teams, or this happens. It just doesn't seem to matter what the caliber of their opponents is. It just matters, are they Did they show up today or did they not? Last week, they showed up, beat Montreal. This week, not so much. And you
Last
would
two
think it would be the opposite because they went into Montreal. Montreal had lost one game the whole year, and they kicked
coming
the
off the
crap out of the
bye.
Alouettes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then they host Toronto, who's traveling across country. It's a late game for them. Toronto isn't exactly the most explosive team in the league this year.
No.
Chad Kelly's still trying to get his footing under him because of his self-inflicted wounds, and there. It
Right.
just
Well, I mean,
they
look,
seem to just have this bugaboo about are they going to tackle on defense today or not? And they didn't. Nathan Rourke hasn't settled in as nicely as we all expected him to. I mean, granted, we were expecting him to come in and be 2022 Nathan Rourke right off the hop, which isn't just wasn't going to happen, I guess. But that's the Nathan Rourke we've had in our head over these past year and a half.
yeah.
So he's coming back to the Canadian game. It's a different environment. He is now the face of the franchise instead of being an anonymous third, fourth quarterback in the NFL. That transition's taking some time to happen for him, although he's really handling it. Besides the one small halftime issue that we had a couple weeks ago, he's handling that about as well as anybody could expect.
Hmm.
The problem is it's not quarterback is not a plug and play position, even though it's BC, even though it's the same offense. He's been doing other things for the last year and a half. It's probably unfair that we had these expectations, but here we are.
Now you referred to the halftime issue. You mean the halftime non-issue, don't you, Joe?
Precisely.
Okay,
Uh,
right. So, so
Honestly, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Neither of us found it a big deal. Other people keep bringing it up, so fine,
really, do
whatever.
they?
Keep
Well,
keep doing, keep bringing that up, but that's the least of their issues right now.
I'm giving them the cone of silence right now. Yes, because the Argos did not look spectacular. Look, they took into half a 19-10 lead, and for a long time it looked as though we were just going to see a field goal game here. We were going to see about 21 points from the Argos, all on field goals, right? So it wasn't like they were blowing anything up. Like you said, this is hardly one of the most explosive teams in the league. And yet, Rick Campbell yanks Rourke at halftime, throws in Vernon Adams, who is probably just as surprised as anybody else that he was going to get quality playing time in this game. First snap he gets, he fumbles.
Hmm.
It's like, and per the Three Down Nation coverage in the post game press conference, Rick Campbell said, "quote I thought the way our team was playing, we needed a spark. I don't know.
Okay,
This feel
fine, but they had just went in and scored before halftime, and then you decide to move him, and oh, I need a spark. Like, okay, fine, if it's 19-3 going into half, that's one thing. But your offense had finally found its footing, and then you go ahead and make the change.
right,
It's
right,
almost like he put in his head with 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, I'm making this change at halftime.
yeah,
It didn't like rethink it. It's
yeah,
just weird that they made the change when they did.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a strange call. Vernon Adams looked like a fish out of water out there. He ended up what 4 of 7 for 75 yards, but with the interception, with the fumble. This change was basically a net negative because ironically, that's when the Argos started taking off.
Hmm.
That's when the route was on. Coming out of the locker room at half. This was quite the halftime adjustment. The halftime adjustment gone wrong. Okay, so then finally, Chase Bryce gets in there, and I tell you, I was regretting not betting that prop bet. Bryce over 1.5 pass attempts. I wonder what the odds were on that in this game. In any case, so now BC, okay, they're on a 2-6 run.
Hmm.
Okay. They haven't won at BC Place since July 13th, week 6. And in this game, the team that had just run up 75 points against the Red Blacks and the Owls just was nowhere to be seen. Just, I
And
mean,
it's
like,
just weird. It looked like they were ready to launch. everything had gone well in June. Huge crowds. Uh,
Yeah,
the pregame entertainment was fantastic. They got the week,
sure.
what was it, week one that they had that they were home, or week two, the first home game? 50,000 in the stands because pregame entertainment. And then they had the momentum for a while, and then it's just all of a sudden they just, it's weird because you're sitting there thinking, okay, they're about to achieve what they've been trying to achieve for the last 2-3 years. They've been building up to this. This is where they take off, and then just the rocket fizzles out.
Yeah, they're just I nothing works. Nothing works. Nothing is working. I mean, first of all, this team is basically, I mean, let's be honest. This team is basically all offense. I mean, what they did against Montreal notwithstanding. But I mean, this team has been all offense all year, and right now they have no offense. So, the big play defense is not doing anything either. So it's like, it's a bad situation. Now, okay. Toronto, on the other hand, okay, good win for them. Excellent win for them, really. The Argos have been bringing it against the top teams in the league this year, at least by the standings. And but on the other hand, I feel like the Argos, all they can do right now is keep pace. Right?
Which is fine.
They're
Which
they're what
is fine.
they're they're 3 points behind the Red Blacks. They're 8 points, 6 points, 6 points behind the Owls. I mean, and it feels like, again, it feels like all they can do is run in place right now. What do you see for Toronto the rest of the way?
Probably about the same. I mean,
Okay.
it's not going to be the same team as it was last year. They had so many free agent defections. It was going to be hard to bring that back anyway. Not even going to mention the fact that their quarterback isn't up to full speed yet, given it was his own fault. Uh, you just they didn't have a runway in June and July to go ahead and say, okay, here's where we're at. They had to scuffle this whole year to get where they're at right now. I just don't see them becoming the hottest team in the league in September, October. I think they are what they are right now.
Mhm.
Maybe next year they have a better chance of, recalibrating and becoming that team they were last year again. But this year, I don't think that happens. I think they're a third place team. Uh,
Yep.
I don't think they have to. I mean, Edmonton's surging out west, but Calgary and Saskatchewan are fading. So is BC. So I don't see a real challenge for a crossover from the West. So as long as they keep ahead of Hamilton, they're fine. You get to November, weird things happen. They can tell you that, right?
Mhm.
So if they end up third place, they've still got a shot.
Right. Owls fans should be terrified. Here we go. Yeah, this is feeling a lot like a 9-9. Argos Grey Cup appearance.
And
Right now they're seven.
that's how they did it the past what
Right,
decade or so,
right,
before what, the last 2 years.
right.
Like
Exactly.
their ceiling was 9-9, and then getting into the playoffs and going, oh wait, we're going to just win in November now.
Right, exactly, exactly. Right now they're 7-6. Right,
Uh
that's
huh.
who they are. Now the difference is that at 7-6, by dint of that record, they're what, the fourth best team in the league.
Hmm.
So there you go. You can look at it either way. You can go glass half empty, glass half full. The reality is that next week they have to play the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who, damn, looked really good going 37 to the Ottawa Red Blacks 21. Um, wow. Okay. If your theory is correct, Joe, about about Bo Levy departing the Tiger Cats, he might be waking up just in time to make them regret that eventuality in Hamilton. I mean, wow, he looked good. He's hitting Dunbar, he's hitting White over and over and over again, all across the field in all the different positions. He's getting lots of YAC out of these guys. Just everything is humming. The Ticats are humming, right, in Hamilton right now.
Play the
Uh,
song.
small, small. It's a small sample size, right? But it
But
feels
this is
like,
who they are. They wait
yeah,
until Labor Day and then they start their season then.
right.
It's been the way it's been since pretty much COVID, right?
I guess, but the cast of characters has changed, right? So
Dramatically. Like, I don't know if they have 10 players left from 2021 off the top of my head.
I mean,
Same time, this is their identity right now. It's like, oh,
yeah.
they wait until they're buried and then they go, "Oh, wait, we need to have a season."
And- okay. Right. Now, I mean, here's a team that scored like what is it? 68? I think 68 games and 68 points in the past two games.
Mhm.
Um, is this offense fun now?
So far.
Okay.
And I mean, Ottawa's not a terrible defense. So they've
Oh no, they
they've
were
been
just no, they're not. But they were not there today. They were not
no,
there. They were just.
but they've been
I mean,
achieving this against, not bottom feeders. So they're doing something well.
oh yeah. Oh no, no. The red. Well, again, I mean, it's always been my opinion that the thing about the Red Blacks is they play smart. They're not. They don't overcommit on defense. They don't turn it over that often on offense. Now, speaking of which, Drew Brown got yanked out of this game. Jeremiah Masoli came in. Before you could say, K Pasa, he had this team going from 29-6 to 29-21. And just
Mhm.
bam, bam, two touchdowns sandwiched around to three and out. So, I'm sorry, two and out. So, I mean, the real question here is yes, the Red Blacks are the second best team by record in the league right now. But, I mean, should Masoli be playing here?
I think Mazzoli did what he was there to do. He was there to give the team a spark when they needed it. Got him back into the game. Maybe they
Oh,
waited a
yeah.
little too long, possibly, but
Yep.
maybe they didn't. Because I'm sitting here as Ottawa and thinking, yeah, Drew Brown's my future. He's not having a great game today. Let's see what the other guy can do because I got a guy in the bullpen that has been there before and done that.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm nipping that crap in the bud. If people say, "Hey, is Mazzoli going to start next?" No, Drew Brown's my future. I've got, and he's been really good this year. I mean,
Oh, yeah. He's been the spark
nobody's
plug.
putting up MOP numbers this year. That's a whole nother discussion. But if I'm Ottawa, I'm comfortable there. And you can go. You got Mazzoli on the bench to come out if things are sputtering. So I'm feeling like I'm in a good place. That said, next year, I don't know if Mazzoli's there anymore. So I'm
Oh, yeah.
making sure
No.
Drew Brown gets as many reps as he can get while still maintaining our status as a playoff team.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Okay. It just occurred to me because wow, Masoli just looks at home in this offense. The two games he's really gotten a lot of time this year. He
Mhm.
has looked quite good. He's still
And
fresh after being out of the league for a couple of years, I guess.
right, the injuries were hard on him, but it
Mhm.
looks like I think he's proven that he's still got it.
Oh sure. Oh sure. He looks just as good as he did the last time he was in the league, if not better. I mean,
Mhm.
again, like okay, he got injured and everything. Okay, but right now he's got fresh legs compared to most of these guys that are playing. I mean,
Yep, and it's
he's
just further proof in the CFL you got to have two guys.
yep, yep, absolutely. Say it again and again and again. Okay, finally, the week ended with awesomely enough, Montreal Alouettes 19, Calgary Stampeders 19. All right, I was lamenting this earlier in this season. Between 2018 and 2023, there were zero ties in the CFL. This year we've had two. Here's the numbers balancing out, right?
Mhm.
Um, okay. This one was, I mean, the result itself was actually interesting, especially in terms of the East, right? Because now it sort of neutralizes that Ottawa tie, and we can look at the race for first, just straight up in wins and losses now. So I thought it was pretty interesting in that respect. Unfortunately for them, Ottawa really needed Calgary to win this game or win themselves in order for the tie to really do them any good. And they did not win. They looked very bad against Hamilton. So, I got to say, Joe, I hope you have some optimism from me as well. Because, okay, here's the thing about being an Alouettes fan right now, our offense is just letting us down, and it's getting quite frustrating here. Even against, okay, BC Lions, fair enough, put up 37 points. Okay. But the Owls defense in that game had 5 turnovers. I mean, they picked off Rourke 3 times in that game. They gave our offense so many extra opportunities to do something against the Lions, and they didn't. And it was the same thing again this week. Cody Fajardo was mediocre again. Let's see. I got the stats here. 27 of 37 for 240 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and a couple of just egregious 1 or 2 step overthrows when we really could have used them in the third and fourth quarter. Now, again, look, I mean, okay, first of all, these are the stats of a 13 point of a guy leading a 13-point offense, right? These stats right here, which is how many they scored in regulation time. The thing is, again, the defense is doing the job. Calgary was up 10-0. They got 3 more points in regular time. They got 9 more points for the rest of the game. Okay, again, after that opening drive, they did not get into the end zone again. In fact, the Owls had a nice stop there inside the 3 later on in the game. So the defense is doing their job, but this offense, I mean, look, Joe, is Tyson Philpott the reason? Is that it? That's all we need is Tyson Philpott to come in there and be a viable receiver? I mean, like,
Well, that'd
how,
be a
how am I
problem
supposed
for
to
you
deal with
because
this
he's out for
offense?
the season now.
Yeah,
So,
well, there you go. I mean, like, how am I supposed to deal with this offense here? I mean,
I
this is
mean, my fantasy brain says throw the ball to Cole Speaker more because he was getting me a lot of
yeah,
points for a few weeks there,
yeah,
and he got his first catch late in the game. Now,
right.
that's slightly facetious on my part, but at the same time, it's uh, losing one receiver shouldn't completely screw your offense.
I mean, I almost feel like that's the and Joe, you are right to call out the negligence of Speaker. I mean, my opponent in fantasy had Speaker, so in that respect, I was pleased about it. But Jesus, Joe, in the last 3 weeks, this guy's averaged 85 receptions a game and 1 touchdown. I mean, why are you not going to him? I mean, more than once. He had 1 target, 1 reception. Come on now.
Yeah,
Come on.
they probably had a game plan shifted toward other players. That's fine. It happens. But yeah, they are down Austin Mack. They are down Philpott. It having injuries to receivers sucks. You know, I could tell you that from personal experience. June and
Yeah,
July were no
season.
fun. At the same time, now it's up to you as an offense to go, okay, we need to be more productive. We need to get the ball moving more. We need to take the ball make our defense not be the end up the only thing we have going for us.
Mhm.
Winnipeg's done that. The past 5 games, they've been productive on offense. They have a they have not shown, they're not the same showy offense they were the past few years. They aren't hitting the big plays anymore. But if you watch Paul Lapolis's breakdown, and you should because he's awesome at what he's doing, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Zach was taking what he was being given last week.
Mhm.
I wonder if that's what needs to kind of start happening more in Montreal is stop
That would
trying
be
to
nice.
force things a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, they still have a bit of a cushion. They got a 2-game lead. There's 5 to go. They have time to figure this out. That just might have to be what they do a little bit more is to get out slightly away from the bigger plays and just go for let's keep moving the sticks, moving the sticks, moving the sticks when it's there.
Mhm.
It also helps to have Brady Oliveira in the backfield who could turn a 3-yard pass into a 10-yard pass. But again,
Well,
you have talent. Take more of what's given instead of trying to take what's not there.
Well, apparently, I mean, it would also be nice to have William Stanback in that backfield too, because he's the one that ran us over for 37 points last week. So,
Sure,
so it'd be nice to have. Yeah, you don't need Oliveira, but
but
yeah,
that's an understandable progression as a franchise to go from okay, 30-year-old running back
yeah,
to
of course.
younger and cheaper. It's
Oh yeah.
there. I understand that. I'm not going to get upset about that move.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that Stanback has had basically a comeback year this year. I mean, he's really like the stats are off the charts. He's going for his best season ever,
Hmm.
which I think after last year, the intermittent play last year, I don't think anybody saw that one coming. Uh, he's, he's becoming the most productive member of the entire BC offense at this point, basically. So I don't think anybody saw that coming. Okay, so as for Calgary, I guess the tie is better than a loss for them. Right
But
now,
it should feel like a loss because they left so many points on the board. They had
it felt
Montreal
like that.
beat a couple of different times.
Yeah.
It felt like
Mhm, mhm,
if you want to, you could pin a little bit of blame on the kicking, which is weird because it's Calgary. That doesn't
yeah.
usually happen,
Yeah.
or the fumble at the 3.
Mhm.
But they had control of this game for even longer than that, and they just could not finish.
Yeah, Montreal only took the lead for the first time in overtime. The
Hmm.
field goal in overtime was our first lead of that game.
Yep,
I
that was
felt,
the so you were always afraid of that random loss to a team that they shouldn't be anywhere close to. That kind of happened, but you got a point out of it anyway. So
yeah, 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 oh yeah, 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 yeah. I once we went to overtime, I was pretty confident. Yeah, Calgary really could have used the win here, uh, just for the table. They're in last place right now. They're 1 point behind Edmonton. They're 2 points behind Saskatchewan in the Canadian system. So the thing is, if they had won, that means 1 point would have separated all three of these teams, which would have been awesome. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So, what are we looking at here for Calgary? I mean, this feels like the microcosm of the season game, right? The
yep,
defense was better than expected, but everybody in this league has figured out this offense at this point.
yep. And I hate to rule out a team that's 2 games out of a playoff spot right now, but they haven't looked good in a while. They were running 500 June and July. After that, it's just not been good.
No, no, no. They're playing at peak. It's just like I feel like they don't have the talent. They don't
Their
have.
ceiling isn't very high.
No, it's not. And again, the thing is, after Ottawa blew out Calgary in that one game, again, Jake Meyer has been solved. This is. I mean, he even got benched last game. Right? He didn't even
Right.
play last game.
And I
So.
don't argue that. The results weren't great, but you needed to do something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, again. I mean, I'm not a genius, and I know that teams in this league have solved how to play Meyer. So I mean, it must be clear to Campbell. So, in any case, okay. So, um, right. Okay. So let's go on. We're going to talk about next week's games. We don't have the lines. I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor, RoyalRetros.com. Royal Retros sells you all kinds of neat retro gear like t-shirts, like baseball caps, like jerseys, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Their gear is from defunct teams and defunct leagues, such as the WHA, the XFL 1.0, so many ABA, Negro League Baseball, Pacific Coast League Baseball back in the day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For listeners of the show, you can enter promo code RWBCFL and get 10% off. Um, yeah, so go there now. They got great stuff at good prices. RoyalRetros.com, promo code RWBCFL for 10% off. RoyalRetros.com, our sponsor. Right, let's go into next week. Before we start the games, Joe, you're still number one in the CFL Podcast Network Fantasy Football League. Am I correct?
Yep.
Still
and
number
it's not
one.
official yet. I mean,
Well, yeah.
things do tend to change every once in a while during the week as they update stats. But I'm
Yeah.
10 points ahead of my opponent this week, so I should maintain that number one spot, both in
Nice.
record and in points. So
Right.
I'll
Right.
far better than I expected. Especially
Yeah.
given the last 2 weeks, I haven't set my roster until after the first game has started. I'm a little bit
Oh,
the
uh,
travel has thrown me off of my normal
oh man.
oh, it's Wednesday. I better fix this.
I can't tell whether that's a humble brag or trash talk. Just straight up trash talk. I can't tell.
Both.
Let's hope nobody else in the league hears that.
Well, I've been lucky though because the first game of the week has usually not resulted in a ton of points.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was nobody that got stats in that Toronto BC game, it felt like. Uh Polk had a good game for Toronto, but that
Yeah,
was
but I
about it.
wasn't gonna put him on my roster anyway.
No, no, no,
So
no. That was not the pick. That was not the pick. I mean, I had Kadeem Carey, who was good for about 8.5 points in that game.
yeah,
So almost scored the touchdown. Okay, so let's talk next week games. Of course, we're recording this way ahead of time, so we don't have any lines for these games. We're going to start with Hamilton Tiger Cats at Toronto Argonauts. Um, well, I'm hoping to get some wins in CFL Pick'em last week. I'm sure, like a lot of people, I was 0-2-1
uh,
in Pick'em.
and I'm
I-
okay with that. I've been picking a lot of BC lately, so I think I'm gonna keep doing that.
right. Okay, so we're starting off with Hamilton Tiger Cats at Toronto Argonauts. Wow. After Hamilton's last couple of games, I really, really want to back them in this game, but I think you have to go Toronto. I'm thinking that the line is actually going to be a lot smaller than it should be. It's probably going to be about 3.5 or so. So, unfortunately, if it were more than that, I would say, yeah, for betters, take Toronto to win and take Hamilton to cover the spread. But I think that Toronto is only going to be favored by a few. I take Toronto to win outright in a close one.
Okay, I'm gonna take Hamilton.
Wow.
It's a,
All right.
this is a total gut play, but
Okay.
they've been playing well the past few weeks. They tend not to start their season until September the past few years. And Toronto right now just doesn't scare me.
Mm,
So I
yeah.
could see the rivalry slash Hamilton's hot slash let's go win one in their house prevailing here.
Mhm. Wow. Well, that would certainly make things interesting. The bottom of that East table, that's for sure. Okay.
It would give Hamilton a shot. If they lose this one, they're done because they're 4 out at that point with 4 to go.
Hmm.
Like I don't
Hmm.
think they can be officially eliminated, but that'd be as close as it gets.
Okay. So that game's going off on Friday night at 7 Eastern. Also on Friday night at 9:30 Eastern, it says here, we'll have Saskatchewan Roughriders at Calgary Stampeders. All right.
Ooh, can I pick a
Two,
tie?
right, exactly. Like, what
I'm
are
not
the
doing that,
odds,
but
right? That would be great because both of these teams would have two ties. That would be fantastic. Um, But yeah, it's tough not to go with the tie. I mean, these are arguably two of the teams in the biggest funk right now. Maybe BC you could put in there as well, but Jesus, I mean, okay, Joe, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to pick whoever you don't.
okay.
Who do you
So
like
you're
in this game?
taking Calgary because I'm taking
Okay,
Saskatchewan.
you
Because
are taking the Riders.
I
Okay,
am because
okay,
they haven't played poorly the past few games. Winnipeg
yeah,
just played a little bit better.
yeah. They played
And
against Montreal too. They played a good game against Montreal too.
right, they've been playing better than than their record has given them because they played Montreal, Winnipeg, right, or something of the
Mhm.
sort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they break through finally. I think. I don't think there's any reason not to pick them because Calgary's not playing well,
Mhm,
and Saskatchewan's been playing decently, but not good enough to win.
mhm.
So I don't think Calgary all of a sudden turns around and goes, "Okay, we're going to make you play decently, but not good enough to win for the fourth week in a row." I don't think they have that in them.
Okay. All right. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, for me, this is I feel like this is a coin flip. I mean, I can easily imagine just the Riders just blowing them out, but who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Calgary might do something interesting. All right, let's go. Game 3. Now, the third and fourth games are on what? These are on Saturday daytime, I guess. Yeah, and then the second game is at night. So we have the first game is at what? 3 Eastern?
Yep,
3 Eastern?
CTV.
Yeah, Montreal. Oh, another one. Oh, good.
Yep,
Interesting.
they're doing. I think they're kind of going back to acting like it's 1986 and going. The season starts in September, and every game is played at 3 o'clock Eastern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I'll take it. I mean, it makes a nice viewing time out here in Europe, so I'll take it. Montreal at the Ottawa Red Blacks. Now, I'm really happy that the Red Blacks lost last week convincingly. That makes me feel a little bit better about this game. The Alouettes haven't won in 3 weeks, I think. So bye, lost, tie. So I'm hoping that this is the fourth outcome in the cycle and Montreal wins. I think they will win this game.
I got them too. Again, I feel like Ottawa's the team that makes you beat them,
Mm-hmm.
and no, not a lot of teams are good enough to do that right now. Montreal's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at, even though it's on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a vested interest in this game. I mean, I feel like this is the tune-up for the seemingly inevitable East Final. So
Yeah,
this
we
is
don't
this.
we
This
don't have playoff scenarios officially this week yet.
yeah.
But last week Ottawa needed a win to get in. I think they
Mm-hmm.
wait another week.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you do like Montreal here.
I do like Montreal. I'm taking Montreal, to be clear.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to look here. What do the Red Blacks have? The Red Blacks have
They're
the
eight.
rest of the
They're eight. Yeah, they're 8-4. Montreal's 10-2. They both have a tie to their names too. So
Oh yes, and yeah. So okay, so Ottawa, the rest of the season is at home. Okay, so versus Montreal, at Saskatchewan, by at Montreal, at Toronto, and they end the season at home against Hamilton. So the Red Blacks are about to run the gauntlet here, coming out of the bye. After that bye, those are going to be some
yeah,
games
and they've
that
been
they'll.
really good at home. This would be their first home loss if it happens,
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh,
not quite as
uh-huh.
good on the road. I mean, that's squares. That's normal.
Yeah, yeah, especially this season when those splits are so extreme. Right. Let's see. Let's go on. Okay. And so finally, we close out the week with Winnipeg at the Edmonton Elks. Okay.
Mhm.
Winnipeg is coming out of the bye. This tendency to bet on that has burned us a few times this year. So I wouldn't
Well,
take that for granted.
Edmonton is too, right? So
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
throw
So
that
they're both
throw that whole idea out the window.
right. Okay.
Even
Great.
even
Great.
playing field there.
That'll make it easy. No need to overthink this one. All right. So I'm wondering if the break cooled off Edmonton any. I expect Winnipeg to be playing at the level that they've been playing at recently, despite the bye. But I'm wondering if Edmonton has cooled off. I'm going to take. I'll take Winnipeg here. I'll take
I'll
both of
take
them.
Winnipeg too.
Yeah.
I know Trey Ford's going to be starting the game, and that actually encourages me slightly.
Okay.
Only because he hasn't had a lot of reps in the past month because of his rib injury. So yes, it gives Edmonton a more dynamic offense. It gives them more opportunities to do things. But I believe in Winnipeg's defense to play smart football, to keep the explosion plays to a minimum, and that takes away Trey Ford's what Trey Ford is good for. I think they're going to give him a lot of looks that are going to baffle him. It, they're a hard defense for him to face, especially when there's a potential for rust there with the injury.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. If we get a Calgary win and an Edmonton win, does that mean that the Riders are in last?
Calgary win and an Edmonton win. I don't know who has a tiebreaker between Saskatchewan
Right.
and Calgary, but they'd be tied for last. Yes, they would.
Right. Wow. Wow. Can
And
you
no, I would not
imagine?
complain about that at all. But
Oh my God! I was just looking at.
I feel like they're better than a last place team. That's just me.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But it could happen. I was just reading some back game from this season where the Riders lost. I believe it was the game where the Alouettes beat the Riders. And the lead was, Alouette beat the West leading Saskatchewan Roughriders. I was just like, wow, what
Hmm.
year is this from? But no joke. This was like 7 weeks ago or whatever.
Well,
It's just like,
Saskatchewan's got a lot of games left against. I believe they have 2 against Calgary, 1 against Edmonton,
mhm,
and 1 against BC.
mhm.
So, and then 1 against Ottawa. Yeah. So they have plenty of opportunity to keep themselves afloat or sink.
Yep,
They,
yep.
it's in their hands. They're not having to worry about anybody else helping them. They've got 2 against Calgary, 1 against Edmonton. So if they're caught, it's on them.
Hmm. 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 Yeah, same with Ottawa. Same with Ottawa, right? Ottawa's got 3 of their last 4 games against the East. In fact, their
Mhm.
last 3 games are against the East, and then 4 of their last 5 are against Eastern teams. So same situation there. I like how the league. I'm not a big fan of starting the season with a lot of East West, but I do like how it shakes out that there's a lot of divisional games at the end of the season. So
Yeah,
uh,
it's either really good or really bad because
yeah,
sometimes if a team gets way out ahead, they're handing their opponents, their third string because we don't
yeah,
want to get hurt and gives them playoff opportunities. So
right, yeah, preseason games. But this year, I mean, there's so much parity in the league. I mean,
I don't
that,
know if I don't know if even week 21 is going to be a week where a lot of people are sitting players.
uh-huh,
There's going to be a
uh-huh.
lot of ability to move.
Yeah, especially in the West.
Which
Yeah,
I mean,
especially.
if you're sitting there in the league office, you're going great. We'll sell more tickets in week 21. Let's go.
Uh-huh.
Parity for everyone.
Right, exactly, exactly. Football is always pro football leagues have always thrived on parity. Not so much college, but yeah, the pro leagues always have. It's better to have all these equal teams. It's
I don't
better
know.
when
Ask Florida State how they feel about parity right now.
yeah, I shouldn't really be talking about that in the case of the Bombers either. Because I was going to say is it's often more exciting when you don't know who's going to be playing in that championship game. On the other hand, I do believe that dynasties are good for sports too. I do believe it's good to
Yeah,
have a
it's nice.
measuring
It's
stick.
nice to be hated for being there all the time.
Right. Right, right. Well, it's nice to have a measuring stick, right? Because you can talk about, oh yeah, my team beat, the champs, the dominant team, in the Super Bowl, for example. I'm sorry, in the Grey Cup, for example. Uh, my team beat the dominant team of the decade in the Grey Cup. Imagine that, Joe. Imagine that feeling. Right. Let's call it a show, Joe. What do you say?
I'm all for it. I think
All right.
we've done our duty this week.
All right, so that was week 15. Enjoy the week 16 games. You have been listening to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. I'm Oz Davis for my co host, Joe Pritchard. We are out of here. See you next week.